What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Konoha wanted Naruto dead but he was saved by the spirit of Hashirama? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. He stood in front of him in all his ghostly glory, his gaze never leaving the human. Your task is to look after that child and don't even dare to mess it up. He said in a ghastly voice. Ooh. So in other words, I'll be a guardian angel. Big goofy grin that the man was adorning right now was starting to irritate him. Call it whatever you please, for all that I care. All I want is your answer, not your opinion or messed up mortal views. Are you up for this task or not? The man in front of the Shinigami let out a silent breath. Were gods always this grumpy? There was silence for a few moments between them. Hiding his eyes under the long bangs of black straight hair, he remained quiet, pretending that he was thinking deeply. Finally, smiling like a Cheshire cat, he asked, "So, when do I start?" Contrary to popular belief, the Shinigami wasn't a sadistic, divine being that liked seeing poor souls being either tortured or humiliated, nor did he enjoy doing it. Where mortals got that idea he didn't know. He didn't want to know how they came to believe that he personally came to reap their souls once their time was up, or that he ate their souls. He simply existed to supervise spirits, so they could leave their temporary home and pass on to the afterlife, their permanent home, while his sibling and counterpart, life, looked after them, so they went to the living world for the new beginning, that was it. Even if death wasn't interested in the realm where the living resided, like his sister, he still kept his ear out for any interesting information that was worth his attention. Alas, exiting things rarely happened, but it was still better than spending his time playing card games with other gods, or being annoyed by the foul-mouthed Jashin accompanied by his endless cursing, masochism and sadism. So when life came to urge him to watch what mortals were up to, he wasn't expecting much, but still went along with her, just to escape from the strip poker that one of gods from some other world suggested. He played it once. It could be said that some deities aren't eye candies. Which was the reason why it left him scarred for the rest of his existence. How did humans came up with such terrifying games was a mystery to him. Next time I'll definitely send it to the other side. When he saw a young boy with spiky dark hair, no older than 12, playing stone skipping, who soon was joined by another brunette of the same age, he didn't know how to respond. He wasn't expecting much, but this was ridiculous. He turned to life and looked her in the eye as if asking for her reasons showing this to him. What she said next piqued his interest a little. Fate said that these two will be the ones to mold the future, for the better or worse. I think it said something about a child of prophecy too. Shame, I ran off from it, before it had a chance to finish what it was saying. Her impatience, when she was exited, was infamous among the gods. Even if she was like that all the time, it didn't mean she didn't felt guilty for being impatient and running off from fate, before it finished what it had to say. It didn't help the matter that fate, actually rarely, bothered to talk at all. You should for once listen till the end, you know? When it bothers to say anything at all, it's really important and shouldn't be ignored. When life bowed her head down with her long, blonde locks falling along, he knew that he hit a sensitive subject. Even though he loved his younger sister dearly, it didn't mean he would be lenient with her. Right now he was a little disappointed with his sibling, also a bit angry. It was no longer a surprise to him, whenever she agreed to change herself, to stop and listen till the end what others had to say, that it would never last for long. Because she would always, in the end, return to her old habits. It was simply in her nature due to so, because life, without her bursting energy and curiosity, wouldn't be herself. My apologies, brother, but you know pretty well how I am when I'm exited. Death didn't disagree, he simply nodded. But to be honest, right now I don't see anything special, so I guess we'll have to wait then. With that being said, she turned, golden locks swaying around her, and vanished from Death God's sight. The next time the goddess of life dragged him out to the living world, he couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised, just like his counterpart. Gone were those boys who played and spared near the river. Now in their places stood two men, with such power, yet not seen in this world. Power that shook the world, one that said by mortals to be rivaled only by gods themselves. Same men whose clans fought each other for years and finally agreed to stop the bloodshed. There, where the two boys from both enemy clans met as strangers, without knowing each other's identity, whose dreams were as big, if not bigger, than Biju's all put together. Now in that fateful meeting place, was a growing village hidden by leaves, built by said two ambitious boys, now men. Despite himself, Shinigami smiled along with life as they watched human children laughing, running and playing to their heart's content without a care in the world. Stand owners in the marketplace shouting prices and promoting their products, families dining out, women searching for discounts for food and clothes, men looking and complimenting craftsmanship of tools and weapons. They really did change the future for the better. Just look at this place, brother. People can finally live without fear of war and losing their loved ones. Moreover, it's so lively here, everyone is happy. Life couldn't be more happy, that was crystal clear. As she continued to babble on, Shinigami was nodding, barely even listening to her, lost in his own thoughts as he looked at the scene. Goddess noticed his behavior, but didn't comment on it. Her elder sibling was restless as of late and she had a vague idea why. Even if Death God's duty required that he must guide the souls to the afterlife to the dimension in between, it didn't mean that he wanted to. It's one of the reasons why he disliked wars. But the reason he was lost in thought was because he couldn't get out of his mind what fate told him not so long ago. Soon a chain of events will start, and it won't lead to anything good. We might need to interfere sooner or later. He stared at the fight that was ending in the valley, eyes void of any emotion. It will be soon recorded in history and will be known as Valley of the End. The rain was pouring heavily as heavens themselves were mourning over the end of one's life, friendship of both and another's lose of freedom. He heard sobbing to his left, delicate palms and fingers, hiding his younger sister's tear-stained face. To his right he heard Fate sigh. He looked it in the eyes, he could see sadness, exasperation, frustration and recognition in its gaze, as if it expected this outcome, but is not satisfied with it and hoped for another. Life felt a hand with long nails on the top of her head, that belonged to her older sibling, gently stroking her hair, trying to comfort her. Fate's eyes softened as its gaze fell on the girl. It didn't know how to comfort others when they were feeling down, but it would at least try. As humans said, it's the thought that counts. I might feel or know most things that will happen in the future. Some things are meant to be, some are not. There are even rare cases, when rules of our creators are defied. But in this case I can't do anything about it. What happened here was meant to be. As it said that both life and death could only nod. Breath in, breath out. Breath in, breath out. The war-torn land, used like a canvas, painted in blood. The water of life flowing from wounds of the fallen painting the ground more and more in red. The lone figure of a man stood in the middle of what used to be a wasteland, now filled with corpses and unnaturally grown trees and their roots, some piercing through said corpses. The man had long, black, straight hair, tan skin, wearing the remains of once red armor under which were a tattered black shirt and a pair of dark pants. All due to the unbelievable damage he sustained during the battle. He was known as Shodai Hokage and one of founders of Konoha, and as Shinobi no Kami, Hashirama Senju. His breathing was ragged. It didn't take long for him to fall on the ground and continue to breathe heavily. He knew it, the end was near. Even if he was recognized as the most powerful shinobi of his era, the one to defeat and kill the infamous Madara Uchiha, it didn't mean that he was unbeatable or for that matter, immortal. He knew very well that he probably wouldn't walk out of this battle alive, when he signed up for this. Even if his wife and brother were protesting and demanding to take at least one of them with him, he wouldn't. He didn't want any of his precious people dying along with him. There were too many shinobi on the other side of the battlefield to count, even if they weren't as strong as him. He was only one man against countless enemies, and sooner or later they would tire him out. Breath in, breath out. He closed his eyes and relaxed as much as his body allowed. He could confidently say that he lived to the fullest, there was nothing to regret. He fulfilled his dreams, had a wonderful wife and kids, a caring younger brother. He saw his children grow up, even saw his little granddaughter grow a little as well, heck, he even taught her how to gamble. He laughed a little as the image of little Suna counting money better than any bankers of world's biggest banks popped in his mind after closing his eyes. It didn't hurt so much to laugh, his body was already numb. With last breath he let out, Shinobi no Kami was gone. Fate prided itself as being very knowledgeable, composed and hardy, if ever fooled. So when worried Shinigami came to it, it knew that something was up. When upset Shinigami always bothered to visit, it practically screamed trouble or that you were doomed. Wanting to just get over with it, it started a conversation for once. Something occurred. It was a statement rather than a question. Madara Uchiha's soul has yet to be seen in the reception dimension. To say that Karma was shocked to the core would an understatement. While fate searched for that accursed soul of Uchiha with life sometimes accompanying it, when she had some free time to spare, it was getting more and more agitated. When a human dies in the living domain, its soul should immediately appear in the reception dimension, so why that mortal hasn't materialized there yet? Unless he still is breathing, because there's no way that his soul would be lost. If either angels or demons see that human left his body without finishing what it wanted to do, first thing they do is either inform the archangels or the higher ranked demons that they will oversee those souls, and neither of them had reports about Madara Uchiha. Moreover, I saw with my own eyes that that brat died. Trouble will befall all of us if we don't solve this mystery soon. I really wish that I would be wrong for once. So when Goddess of Life came running to Fate, crying and rambling something about a boy smashed by a huge rock, it didn't bother to listen, more focused on calming down the upset goddess. That was a futile attempt, since the girl started sobbing even more and babbling about Obito, Uchiha, smashed, saved, teammates. That's when Death himself appeared next, walked up to his sister, put his hand on her head like he always did, when she was upset and turned to it. The look it got didn't please it at all, that same damn look it got all those years ago. What Shinigami spoke next made Karma do something that neither he nor life ever thought they would live to see. Fate, the most composed deity to ever exist, snapped. What they saw that day was most amazing, horrifying and traumatizing sight they had the honor to see for themselves. Obito Uchiha, whose body was broken by the falling boulder and should have died due to the injuries he sustained, failed to arrive to the world in between heaven and hell, also known as the reception dimension. Heavy, long silence had befallen all occupants in the space, which was broken by the most murderous roar siblings ever heard. Those damned Uchihas. The sight that accompanied that inhuman howl wasn't pretty at all. I'm going to be a mother, TT Ebane. I'm going to be a father. Wah, they gonna have a baby. Did ya hear? A baby. To say that life was feeling ecstatic was to put it mildly. Both Shinigami and Karma's ears hurt and were feeling headache coming up also. Fate looked pleadingly at Death, practically begging him to stop the girl with impressive pair of lungs. He in return glared at it. After all, it was its fault that they were right here. They would have been spared of this misery if Fate wouldn't have had one of its "I'm smart, but I'm also sometimes stupid" moments and summoned him and his hyperactive brat on sugar high of a sister here. Fate apologetically bowed its head, and Death decided that he had enough, so he quickly put his hand on the babbling girl's mouth to shut her up and opened a portal to one of the realms he liked to reside in his free time. As he walked through the portal along with said girl, who still couldn't talk, he glanced over his shoulder to see it following him, still with its head down. When they arrived, he glared coldly at Karma, silently urging it to say what it wanted and just be gone, and while on its way take his sister with it. He just wanted to be done with this mess and get a break from both of them and relax, because he really needed to. So, why you wanted us there? Why? Hey, Karma. As life started to whine while clinging to it, it could very well feel Shinigami drilling a hole through his head just with his glare. Those two will become parents of a child of the prophecy. That finally shut her up and let it go. That child is destined to change, not only the future, but the shinobi world itself, and I'm confident that for the better. At this, life's eyes shined with excitement. Death also looked pleased. But there's also something that makes me uneasy. At this, siblings' wings and horn for ears respectively twitched just like a dog's who was called by its owner. During the child's birth, the masked man, claiming to be our beloved elder Uchiha, sets Kyuubi to destroy Konoha. I cannot see further, but I don't need my powers to know that this event will lead to something big, which will lead to something even bigger. Will it be a boy or a girl? Didn't you say that you cannot see past the child's birth? How do you know that something will happen? Life asked, her green eyes shining in the light of the space they were currently in. When a maniacal grin appeared on Fate's face, which Life swore was one of the most creepiest things she ever laid eyes on, it said. Gut feeling, of course. Oh, and it's a boy. It's a boy, you said. It's a girl, I say. Was the first thing that Life said after all three of them had witnessed the birth of the child, Kyuubi's extraction, and now we're watching as Kyuubi was destroying Konoha and killing more and more people with each second. Don't blame Fate for that. You know very well that it, as a genderless deity, confuses genders of humans. Our fellow gods aren't of much help either, as they have barely any visual resemblance of a human being. Karma was already blushing from embarrassment, but after Death's comment it resembled a tomato more than ever. Talking from experience, brother? When the god didn't answer, she continued, is this the reason why you avoid playing card games? Silence was the only answer she got. She burst out laughing and gasping for air. Now it was Death who was standing there red-faced and embarrassed. Deciding to stand up for its friend who earlier stood up for it, Fate coughed into its fist, successfully getting attention from both. Right now the strongest Biju to exist is destroying the village and killing people left and right, and all you can think about right now is strip poker? Life bowed her head, ashamed of herself, as Death let out a sigh of relief. He looked at the mountain monument, completely tuning out all the chaos around him, and noticed the masked man confronting the current leader of the village. Let's go. It seems that Yondaime Hokage is taking the battle with Madara imposter elsewhere. As they arrived at the clearing for the final clash of two men, they saw a man clad in black arrive also from the swirl. This is it, soon will come the moment. Don't talk, don't ask, just watch, both of you. What you'll see later tonight, after this, during and after the fight will shape the future. Fate ordered both its fellow deities. You're pretty talkative this past century and a half, you know that? If things weren't so serious I would have thought that you were ill. Freya, beings of our kind don't get sick. I know that, brother. Good, now be a good girl, be quiet and watch. With a pout, adorning her cherubic face, did as she was told. Are you Uchiha Madara? No, he's long dead? Oh, I don't know about that. On second thought, it doesn't matter who you are. Why you attacked the village? Oh, you know, it's fun. Part of my plan to start a war to bring peace. The man, now identified as Madara, said as it was a casual thing to say, while taking out chains, and went for Minato. Slamming Rasengan in the back of his enemy, the yellow flash proceeded to break contract between his opponent and the demon fox. A contract seal? Are you trying to free Nine Tails from my control? No, I already did that. As they both jumped away from each other, to put some distance, the injured man complimented Hokage's skills and left with a promise to return. Hokage, once again, appeared in his village, deities tagging along with him, without his knowledge. Thinking fast and summoning Gamabunta, the toad boss summon, asked him to hold the fox still till he gathered enough chakra to teleport himself and the fox that was preparing for another attack. After a moment both the fox and Yondaime were gone, and not few seconds later a blast far away was seen. Seeing it, the former Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi went there with hope to help his successor. In the clearing, where giant-tailed beast was chained to the ground with the chakra chains of its previous host, the current leader of the village was making hand seals for the sealing jutsu. Dead demon seal. As he finished, Death, who was standing nearby with his companions, suddenly vanished, surprising the other two, and appeared behind the young Hokage. What surprised all three deities was that the Shinigami didn't look like he originally did. Now his appearance was a grotesque version of his original form. Long white shaggy hair that were holding his summoner's soul, two red horns on top, skin and bones of a body, grayish-blue skin, loose white robes, and a tanto in his mouth full of sharp teeth. He was really displeased with this situation, but would bear with it. So he settled with watching the married couple talk. He wasn't in control of his body anyway. The husband explained to his spouse that after he'll finish the dead demon seal, she would be able to help their daughter when she will try to take control of Biju's power that will be sealed in her. Then about how they are a family of shinobi. As husband explained how he cannot replace a mother and fill her role in raising their child, and so should do it herself even if it will be for a brief moment. Dying to make a better life for his child, that's the stuff you let the father handle. That being said, Shinigami's hand covered in ancient writings and praying beads shot through man with blonde hair and to ancient beast, ripping its young half and sealing it into the said man. Minato then summoned the altar to seal the rest of Kyuubi into his newborn daughter. As he placed the girl on the altar, Kyuubi, who had chains on itself, loosened greatly thanks to being shrunk in half its original size, moved its hand to kill the child it would be sealed in. But that was a futile attempt, as both child's parents used their bodies to stop the attack, as a result getting their bodies pierced by one of the beast's claws. Summoning Gamatora and entrusting him to deliver the key of the seal to his teacher, Minato prepared himself to use 8 trigrams seal, He reminded Kushina that time was limited as Shinigami took out the tanto from his mouth. Naruto, she started, don't be a fussy eater. Eat a lot and grow up to be a big girl. Take your bath every day, go to bed early and sleep well. Make friends, it doesn't matter how many, just make sure they're real friends, people you can trust, even a few is enough. And study your ninjutsu. I was never good at it, maybe you'll be. Everyone has things they're good at and things they're not. Don't feel bad if you can't do it. Make sure you listen to the teachers. And remember to avoid the 3 vices of shinobi. As for men, I know you'll want a boyfriend someday. Just try not to pick an asshole. Try finding someone like your father. And be careful with Jiraiya-sensei. As tears started to flow down her face, she continued. Naruto, you're going to experience a lot of pain and suffering. So remember who you are. Find a goal, a dream. There's so much more I want to say, to teach you about. I want to stay with you. I love you. After she finished, Kushina apologized for taking her husband's time, which he didn't mind, since everything he wanted to say was said by her. 8 trigrams seal. You cut and ate his soul. Since when did you eat human souls? Shinigami was already back in his normal form, covering his ears, while life was screeching at him. I don't do that and have never done it before until that idiot used me to seal Kyuubi, and as payment for summoning me, he gave me his soul that I had to eat. You think I like that? Because I didn't. My stomach feels funny just thinking about it. Change of subject. What are we going to do with the child of prophecy, Karma? Said deity removed its hands from its ears, Shinigami's mirroring its movements and grumbling something about mood swings. Life continued speaking. Kyuubi killed many villagers and shinobi, and there's no way they will forgive it, or its jailer. Most civilians and probably many shinobi, whose minds and judgment will be clouded with hatred and sadness of losing their loved ones, will resent the child for she had no control over. You are right, Freya. That will be a problem, since humans' cruelty knows no bounds. Just like their stupidity, they won't even try to see the difference between jailer and its prisoner. Death also joined the conversation, and it will lead to the child being shunned by the villagers and them trying to get rid of it. She will be placed in the orphanage since her parents are dead. They will barely take care of it, just to keep it alive so they wouldn't incur the wrath of reinstated Sandaime Hokage. Then, when the little one will be old enough to start her education, she will be sabotaged, making her chances of survival on battlefield lesser. Shopowners probably won't let her near the stands either, so she will often be hungry. We cannot let that happen. We have to do something, Karma, Shinigami. If Naruto-chan will grow up weak or die on her first mission, then Madara will be free to rule the world. Life won't let a child suffer, foretold child or not. Correction. Madara's imposter. Death stated, he wasn't happy with how worlds to be savior will live. But maybe, just maybe they could do something. Something that wouldn't disturb the flow of the universe, but that's impossible if any of them will act directly. We cannot do anything. If we will, then the flow will be disturbed. Fate spoke unknowingly, voicing death god's thoughts. Unless we have someone else do it for us. At that, both fate and life snapped their heads at death, looking at him like he turned again in that monstrosity that humans imagined him to be. What do you have in mind, Shinigami? It's really simple, Karma. We could use someone who was strong enough to defeat the real Madara Uchiha to help out the little one. Do you follow me? You damn sly bastard? At this he smirked at his sister, while life herself was adorning Cheshire Cat grin. Fate just looked at both of them and nodded, showing that it approved what Shinigami wanted to do. Getting his friend's approval, he snapped his fingers, one of receptionist arriving instantly. Your orders, Shinigami-sama? Go fetch Hashirama Senju. If one asked Hashirama Senju what he imagined afterlife to be, he would simply answer that it was a peaceful place where one could go and do whatever he or she wanted and no one would bother you there. The same moment the Senju clan head had died, he arrived at the gates of the world between heaven and hell. He stared at the only object in the void, which happened to be an enormous double-door gates that looked to be made out of heavy, thick, dark metal with green crystals in the middle of each door, oozing some kind of energy or light. He felt a tap on his right shoulder and glanced over in that direction. He saw a young woman, probably in her 20s, smiling at him. She had short, spiky hair with a light shade of green, dark brown eyes almost black, and a fair skin. She wore some kind of a uniform, consisting of white, short-sleeved blouse tucked in a black pencil skirt that reached her knees and a pair black shoes to finish the outfit. Overall, she was a pretty young woman. Atraumbra. Welcome to the Atria, also known as reception dimension, or the world between heaven and hell, from where spirits, such as yourself, are sent either to heaven or hell. My name is Lilia and I will be your guide until you are sent where you belong. Ariaruna. My name is Hashirama Senju, pleased to meet you. He couldn't pronounce that strange word on his first try, which seemed to be a greeting here, so he just settled with introducing himself and gave his guide a pleasant smile. It's Atraumbra. It's a tradition here to greet spirits such as yourself or the 12 lords of the afterlife in such a manner. Now, is there anything you would like to know? For a moment Hashirama stood there, stroking his chin like he had grown a beard, thinking what to ask her. Are there any gardens or trees that need to be taken care of? Since I will stay in afterlife for a while, might as well do something productive. Lilia looked at him for a moment, nodding slowly. Then please, follow me, Senju. She turned around and led him through the gates. Go fetch Hashirama Senju. Yes, Shinigami-sama. As he disappeared to do as he was ordered, Fate also decided to head out. I'll go get Lady Seal. We will need her help if we want our plan to be a success. What plan, Karma? Brother only mentioned that we should send Hashirama Senju to help Naru-chan. Why do we need her help? Fate left without answering her, so Death explained instead of it. Because, my dear sister, if we send him right away he won't be able to do anything as Naru-chan is still a newborn, in other words he will be useless. But wouldn't sending him early on help him with the task that we will entrust to him? I mean he would need information about politics now, the current standing of countries and hidden villages, their people, culture and trends, and most importantly his target. I actually haven't thought about this. Well, it seems you have brains after all, sis. At this life turned away from her brother with a pout, she never got used to his teasing. I'll go get some snacks and tea. How does that sound? At the suggestion of a tea party that they will probably have, she jumped, hugging him, while thanking him with a big smile on her face. Then she stopped, let go of her brother, looked him straight in the eye, all of a sudden very serious. If Karma went to get Lady Seal, you will get the snacks, what will I do? You'll wait for our victim. After hearing, victim, she got exited, small smile turning in a devious smirk, she asked. Prank? Prank, he whispered. Giving a wink, he vanished. Hashirama Senju, here I come. You come? So far Hashirama was enjoying heaven. It had lots of forests, parks and gardens full of trees he had never seen before, when he was alive, so he enjoyed researching and taking care of them. But he especially loved that monstrous bonsai tree that was owned by Vasil, Lord of Freedom, and that golden apple tree that was growing in the garden of Lady Yustiel, Lady of Life. It was another beautiful day in heaven, and today Hashirama was heading towards the sea blue forest. That forest was named after the trees that looked a lot like sakura trees, but their petals were deep blue and they glowed, so when falling and blown by the wind they created an image of waves crashing into a coast, hence the name. Just as he was about to step into the forest, a man appeared in front of him. He looked really familiar, like someone he knew. Wait a second, he looked just like her. Hey, are you by any chance Lelijah's relative? The man blinked at him, smiled with a goofy smile and gave him a thumbs up. Yup, she's my elder twin sister. Isn't she a looker, eh? Oh, I'm Zyro. But that aside, Shinigami-sama has summoned you. Shinigami? He looked questioningly at the man identified as Zyro. Yeah, don't ask me why, man, it's the first time he asked to get someone. Before Hashirama could ask anything else, Zyro smacked him on the shoulder and both of them vanished as blue petals fell down to the ground. And that's why we need your assistance. Fate just finished telling the whole situation to Lady of Time, who was listening with rapt attention. I see, it's indeed troubling, but don't worry, I will help. As she stood up, took her staff and was ready to go with Fate, suddenly she stopped and turned to it. I was wondering lately, Karma-kun, are you alright? This past century and a half you've gotten pretty talkative. It didn't say anything and just opened the portal. Here we are, Rama dude. It's Hashirama, Zyro-san. Whatever, man. They were interrupted by a cough. Taking that as a sign to leave, the receptionist did just that, leaving the confused Senju behind. It's been a long time, Hashirama-san. I'm happy to see you here. Said man turned to the girl, eyes wide. So this was Shingami? Wasn't it supposed to look more terrifying, demonic and with a scary aura, like it's about to eat your soul? What he was seeing was anything but that. The girl was no older than 12 with long blonde hair, almost reaching the floor with white small wings poking out from the sides of her head in the place where humans usually have ears. She was wearing a simple white dress that reached the floor. She was also holding some kind of a staff with rings in her left hand. She extended her right hand, showing that she wanted to shake hands with him. Wanting to be polite, Hashirama took her hand, but before he could shake it he felt an electric impact and withdrew it instinctively. At that she began laughing. "That was very mean of you, Shinigami-san." He was sitting on the ground, legs drawn to the chest with a gloomy aura around him. "Hey, I didn't mean to upset you. Cheer up, it's depressing as it is already. We don't need you to add any more," she shouted. As the shinobi stood up, his gloomy aura dispersing, she added, "You know, I'm not Shinigami. I'm Life, his younger sister. Well, actually, we're the same age and all, but for some reason our creator made us like that, so yeah." That surprised him. "Really? Then can you tell me more about?" Before he could finish speaking, a portal appeared and two figures stepped out. The first one had long blood-red hair reaching its waist with two dragon horns on top, black soulless eyes. It wore a red kimono. Hashirama couldn't guess if it was male or female. The second figure was a woman. She was wearing a long golden dress which looked to be made from big scales. Her eye color was something close to orange, with long wavy blonde hair that reached her waist, with a red ornamented headband that kept most of her hair in place. Like Life, she was holding a golden staff. "Ah, little Freya, long time no see." She then proceeded to embrace the poor girl to death, if it was even possible, not caring that she was being watched by the only mortal in the room. Seeing that Lady of Time won't stop squeezing the Goddess of Life anytime soon, Fate turned to the confused man in front of it. "I apologize for their behavior, but as you see they are quite busy." As Hashirama just nodded dumbly, it continued, "I think introductions are in order. You are already acquainted with Freya, the Goddess of Life. The one holding her is the Lady of Time, Lady Seal." Both females, hearing their names being mentioned, stopped hugging and struggling, turned to give Fate and Senju their full attention. God of Fate was about to continue when another portal appeared in the room. Death stepped out with his hands full with bags and with a lollipop in the mouth, followed by two green-headed receptionists who were holding trays with silverware and plates on one, and with mugs full of steaming beverage on another. "And that one with horns is God of Death, Shinigami." It gestured to the pale man, then placed its palm on its chest, gesturing to itself. "I'm God of Fate. Karma. Pleasure to meet you, Hashirama Senju." Hashirama, taking a moment to look at each divine being, shook his head and introduced himself. "Shodem Hokage of Konoha, Hashirama Senju, nice to meet you." Before anyone in the room could say anything, Life ran up to her brother and gleefully screamed, "Tea party." As the sun was setting, dyeing the streets, buildings and any corner it could reach in an orange hue, the old man in ceremonial red and white robes was walking down the road, with a child holding his hand. The child looked up at her older companion, eyes shining with childish innocence and curiosity. "Are we there yet, Gigi?" she asked. Earlier this day when he came to visit her at the orphanage, he promised her that he will take her to eat at the place called Ichiraku Ramen. The old man, also known as Sandaime Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, chuckled. "Not yet, Naruto, be patient. Those who are patient are always rewarded." Now, determination burning in her eyes, she resolved to be patient. If what Gigi said is true, then she will be rewarded at that restaurant, which probably served yummy food, and yummy food was a rarity. They continued walking and soon a stand came into view. Taking a seat and helping his young companion to sit on the stool, she looked around in wonderment. Hiruzen waited until the other customers will be server so they could order. They didn't have to wait long till girl, which looked to be in her early teens, came to take their order. "Good evening, Hokage-sama. Pleasure to see you. I guess you'll take the usual?" He nodded. She was about to turn to give the order to the chef, when she noticed a mop of bright blonde hair. As she looked closer, she let out a squeal. "Oh my goodness, just look at you. What a cutie." As the teenage girl was praising her as the most adorable thing she ever saw, the younger girl blushed at the sudden attention. It seemed to her that she made a good first impression, judging from the fawning that pretty lady was doing. Deciding that the lady was a nice person, she smiled widely and introduced herself. "Hi, my name is Naruto. What is yours, Oni-chan?" Giving a smile of her own, she introduced. "My name is Ayame. At the same time a man walked up to them smiling and introduced himself as well, and my name is Tucci. I'm Ayame's father and the owner of this humble restaurant. Now little one, it looks like it's your first time here, let me help you. This was the day that would forever be burned into, now, 4-year-old Naruto's mind, as one of the best days of her life. She not only gained 2 new friends, but also discovered the food of gods, ramen. Forgive me for my rudeness, Shinigami-san, but why was I summoned here in the first place? It's been some time since they sat down at a table and started drinking tea and eating snacks. After Life and Zyro emptied their cups and a few plates, they went to play chase nearby, while Lilia brewed more tea for them. The tea was delicious, so were the pastries and shortcakes, but Hashirama was getting bored and would have started fidgeting soon, until he remembered what he wanted to ask in the first place. Shinigami gazed at him for a moment, while sipping his tea. When he set down the cup on the table, the god answered in a serious voice. Simple, we have a mission for you. He then lifted the cup again up to his lips. Hashirama looked at the death as if he grew a second head. Since when normal spirits are taking missions? After Seal put down her own mug, she explained. You see, we have a problem, but it would be more accurate to say that the world you resided in, when you were alive, is in danger. In other words, no future for that world. Fate has also thrown in its 2 cents to the conversation. But there's hope, Lady of Time continued. This hope lies in one child, the child of prophecy. What do you say, Hashirama Senju? Do you want to help to save the world? Karma was staring at him as if daring him to refuse. At that god of death, who was in front of Hashirama, stood up, his gaze never leaving him. Your task is to look after that child and don't even dare to mess it up. He said it in a ghastly voice. Ooh, so in other words I'll be a guardian angel. The big goofy grin that the man was adorning right now was starting to irritate said god of death for some reason. Call it whatever you please for all that I care. All I want is your answer, not your opinion or messed up mortal views. Are you up for this task or not? The man in front of Shinigami silently sighed. Was that god always this grumpy? He could go and play something, like card games for example. Those are fun in a good company. He didn't see Shinigami shiver in disgust, which didn't go unnoticed by others. There was silence for a few moments between them. Hiding his eyes under the long bangs of black straight hair, he remained quiet, pretending that he was thinking deeply. Finally, smiling like a Cheshire cat, he asked, So, when do I start? Life stopped chasing the male receptionist and went to stand beside her brother. Wanting to make sure that he was ready before they guided him to the world of the living, she asked him if he had any questions. Yes, I do. He turned his head and gazed at fate for a moment as if contemplating if he should really ask what was bothering him, since the moment the goddess of time and the red head appeared. Are you a girl or a boy, Karma-san? Because you're known as female, and? He was unsure how to ask its gender without insulting the deity. There was a long pause before everyone, except Fate and Hashirama, who was confused, started roaring in laughter. Shinigami, Freya and Zyro were already on the floor, hand-holding their stomachs while the other 2 were trying to hold their giggles in. Zyro recovering faster than the others, but still giggling a little said what made them laugh even more. Karma is known to be genderless, but you never what it has down there. Having enough of this, Fate was about to charge at the poor unsuspecting shinobi, since he was the one to start this. The second would be the younger twin of the 2 head receptionists. This, of course, failed because Seal saw this coming and went to aid him. She tried to block the strike with her staff, but instead of blocking the hit, she hit the one she was trying to protect. Everything went black around Hashirama, while deities and receptionists, who were cleaning up just a moment ago, stared wide-eyed at the spot where Senju was a moment ago. Heavy silence settled in. What the hell happened? Zyro was the first one to ask. It was silent until Lady of Time spoke, voice unsure. It seems that I sent him to the world of the living. Life and Death let out a sigh in relief. At least he won't be beaten by the angry redhead. Good, good. It's 3 years until his target enters the Ninja Academy. During those years he will have enough time to acquaint himself with the current world and get to know his target. He concluded. Seal had turned paler with each word that left Shinigami's lips, while Fate proceeded to take out its anger on the green-headed male. Life, noticing in what state the older female was, asked what's the matter. What Seal said next made Fate let go of its victim and Life become pale as well. I was asked to send him some time in the future, I wasn't aware of the change of plans it seems. The staff has been set some time ago. I sent him 2.5 years into the future from the current time in the living world. You did what? They all chorused. Naruto stared at the mirror. Today was Ayame's day off, or as Naruto dubbed it, dress me up, day. Since that day when they met, the ramen restaurant's owner's daughter always came to visit her at the orphanage and later, her apartment, when she didn't have to help her father, always carrying bags full of girly stuff. At first she liked to be dressed up in all those dresses, they were always comfy and pretty. She especially liked getting her hair combed. It was nice to be taken care of, especially by a person who liked you. Later dressing up got kind of boring, put on a dress, take off the dress and so on. Though she still liked her hair being brushed and combed in various styles. Sometimes Ayame took her to the hot springs with her. She decided back then and there that it was the third best thing in the world, second being hair combing and ramen, of course, being the first. Gigi told her that she can enter Ninja Academy this year, saying that she would turn 7 this fall anyway, so the age requirement wouldn't be much of a problem. She was so happy that she will start academy that she hadn't slept that night. When Naruto was 4, she wanted to become a ninja so people around her would give her at least some respect. Around a year later she finally decided to become one. Then everyone in the village would surely acknowledge her. But after reading an adventure book and then a time-traveling one, that she got as a present on her 5th birthday from the kind librarian, she decided that she wanted to become a ninja so she could explore the world. What was the world like outside the village? Were people so cruel and hateful like in this village? When she'll become a kunoichi she will start her adventure to get her answers, and no one will stop her. When Naruto woke up in the morning, she had done her morning rituals and sat down to eat her breakfast, which consisted of fried eggs and toast. As she was chewing the toast she glanced at the calendar. March 1st, huh? Half a year left till I start the academy, she absent-mindedly wondered. Finishing the toast she stood up, took the dishes, put them in the sink and washed them so she wouldn't need to do it in the evening. Checking the apartment to confirm that everything was in its place, she had put the sandals on, picked up the backpack with a book inside, which was at the apartment entrance, exited her home and locked the door, putting the key in one of her pockets. Today her destination, like almost every day for the past year and a half, was the library. Around 2 years ago, when only a few months passed from her 4th birthday, was when Naruto visited the library for the first time. She came here with a goal to learn how to read and write herself. Of course, she could have asked the Hokage or Ichiraku's duo for help, but she didn't. They were busy as it is and didn't want to trouble them. So when she stepped into the building she expected to be greeted like everywhere else, in other words, kicked out. Instead she was greeted by a young lady who smiled at her asking if she could help. That day, the young ninja-to-be gained another friend. Sarani, the librarian, was the one to teach Naruto how to read and write, and more than once complimented the girl with whiskers that she was a very fast learner. Before she knew it, Naruto had already arrived at her destination. Pushing the door, a bell jingled, letting the occupant in the room know that she entered. "Ah, Naru-chan, good morning," she greeted, waving. At that the girl smiled widely and ran up to the table. "Heya, Sarah Oni-chan. You look pretty today. Hey, are those new glasses?" The young woman chucked and patted the shorter girl's head. "Well, thank you. Aren't you charming today as well? And yeah, they are new. But I swear, if one day I'll see angel wings and a halo on you I won't be surprised, always looking like one." "Thank you." Naruto stuttered, blushing. She never got used to the compliments, but that didn't mean she disliked them, quite on the contrary, she liked them a lot. Taking off her backpack she unzipped it and took out a small-sized book and put it on the desk at which Sarani sat before she arrived. "So you read The Warlock already? How is it?" the librarian asked as she went to the desk, pulled the second drawer open, took out the reader's card and wrote down that the book was returned in good condition. "It was interesting. I liked that old kind-hearted shepherd, sure, he was strange, who drinks in the name of God. But still, when he died, he made heaven's gatekeepers to allow them in. The only part one didn't like was that those two were ghosts in the last chapter." "Disliking ghosts as ever, I see. Well, you enjoyed reading, that's what counts. Come to think of it, Naru, why are you afraid of them? I understand other kids that are your age, but you're much more mature to be afraid of them." The woman with red-brimmed glasses wondered aloud, putting her index finger on the lips. "Because they're dead. When people die they should be in heaven or hell. Imagine how scary those dead guys must look. And they start throwing things and breaking furniture and even burning houses or just stare at you all the time," she exclaimed, waving her hands wildly. What Naruto didn't tell anyone was that the real reason why she was afraid of ghosts was because she was terrified that the villagers, who hated her with passion, would haunt her. One thing was a living being glaring at her, but the dead, coldly glaring at her wherever she went, was another story. She was glad that she couldn't see them, then her already hard life would turn into hell. Those are called poltergeists, Naruto. Anyway, ghosts don't exist. People often imagine seeing one and tell stories about it to get attention, so you don't have anything to be afraid of. Then how do you explain those screams and curses coming from the forest behind the HauntKage monument? At this point Naruto was on the verge on crying in hysterics. Calmly, so Naruto wouldn't panic even more, the woman with curly hair slowly asked. "What do you mean? You sure didn't imagine it? Maybe a couple was having a fight in the woods?" The girl shook her head, terrified. "No, villagers rarely, if ever, go there. And yesterday, when I was going for a walk I heard cursing. I went to check that open field in the eastern part of the forest, but no one was there." Sarani didn't know what to say. Telling Naruto that it was just a fruit of her imagination was useless. The girl believed what she witnessed. Hugging the trembling girl, she tried a slightly another approach. "You know, if you say that they don't exist, then they won't. Or if you think that you saw a ghost, just think that it doesn't exist or say a prayer. Prayers help, I heard, so it should disappear if you say one. Also, some say that they might leave if you ask them nicely." When the young girl relaxed a little, the librarian let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that she was successful in calming her down. After a few minutes passed they broke the hug. Naruto looked like she had calmed down finally. To take the girl's mind away from ghosts, which terrified her greatly, the supervisor of the library went to the storage room. When she came back with a book, her visitor was still standing in the same spot as if her feet were glued to the floor. "Hey, Naru, you're starting the ninja academy this year, right?" Seeing the girl nod, she continued. "And you want to be a good kunoichi, am I right? So take this history book. If they didn't change the curriculum for first years, then you'll be learning the village's history and theory about shinobi this year. You see this book? This is a history book, but it contains not only our village's history, but all the elemental nations as well," she said as she handed the old, worn-out book to the short girl, whose small tiny fingers wrapped around it, eyes full of excitement and curiosity. "Thank you, Sarani Oni-chan, you're the best. Love you too, kiddo." On the same day's evening when the sun was still in the sky, one girl could be found standing above HauntKage Monument Mountain, with a thick book in her hands, forest behind her. The girl had blonde hair, bangs framing her cherubic face, 3 whisker marks adorning each cheek. The rest of her hair was tied into 2 small, low ponytails. She wore a white shirt with a spiral on the back and a pair of black shorts. The outfit was finished with a pair of blue sandals. Naruto stood there, overlooking the village. Konoha village sure is beautiful looking from up here. How such a beauty could house such hateful people? She shook her head. It's better if she doesn't think about the villagers. Then she remembered the contents of the book that her older friend gave her. She read it as soon as she arrived home and finished reading about Warring States era and Konoha under Shodem's ruling. To think that such powerful people existed and built this village, it was amazing. There were also pictures in that book. The Shodem and Madara had pretty hair, almost girly, if you asked her. She would bet that those old hags in the main marketplace would be green with envy if they saw men with such hair. At that train of thought she giggled, totally forgetting that it was getting dark and the sun was setting down, and that the forest that was possibly haunted was right behind her. Crunch, crunch, crunch. She heard footsteps, which were getting closer and closer pretty fast. As she turned around to greet whoever it was, she froze like a statue at who she saw. Noticing that the girl was looking straight at him, the newcomer blinked at the girl, then grinned at her. "Hey, you can see me." Ignoring that the child was still standing and unmoving, he waved at the girl. "Hey, are you?" Before he could finish, a high-pitched scream was heard all over Konoha. When Hashirama opened his eyes, the first thing to greet him was a sight of the sunlight, filtering through the leaves of the tree branches. Beautiful, and then his vision was blocked by none other than the face of the male receptionist who couldn't, for once, get his name right. Ramen dude, finally awake I see. How from Hashirama it changed into ramen. Giving Zyro a glare he politely asked. Zyro-san, can you move aside please? I would like to stand up and my name's Hashirama. Hashi, Rama or Ramen. Whatever your name is, it's too difficult to pronounce. He ignored another glare from the shinobi, who now was standing up and continued his speech. Back to business, Rama dude. At that Hashirama's eyebrow twitched, but he remained silent. You got sent 2 and something years into the future from the time you had to be in. The shinobi nodded, not caring about the time travel in the slightest, but showing that he was listening and that Zyro should continue if he has anything else to say. Now your target is around 6 years and 4 months old, and will be starting her education in the Ninja Academy this September. Blonde hair, blue eyes, tan skin, and she has whisker marks on each of her cheeks, due to her mother being Kyuubi's second Jinchuriki. When he finished, he handed an envelope to the dark-haired man. Inside is the information that some creatures, demons, angels or whatever they are, I don't know, were gathering for the past 7 years. Everything else you will have to find out yourself. Lady Seal asked me to give you this as her and Karma-sama's apology for blasting you here by accident. Freya-sama and Lady Seal would have sent you back where you should have been, but Shinigami-sama said that it wouldn't be fun, whatever he meant by that. As the former Hokage was about to open the envelope, a loud craw was heard. Looking up, both saw a large bird over their heads. The next moment it dropped something and his messenger had almost blown up his eardrums. What the fuck? What is this gooey shit? Wait, it is shit. The greenhead cursed, disgusted as the warm, yet smelly thing, was now spreading all over his head. Hashirama decided that he still wanted to have the gift of hearing, dead or not, so he left the clearing that they were in and went to explore the village to see how much it changed in his absence, while his upset, now ex-companion, was still screaming his lungs out. When Naruto went for a walk on the last day of the winter, which seemed to avoid Konoha this year, her feet took her to the forest behind the Hokage mountain. The blonde girl was walking through the forest when she heard someone screaming. Curiosity killed the cat. Naruto decided to investigate. She went to the direction of the noise. The closer Naruto got, the better she heard who was shouting. It seemed to be a male voice, cursing like the sailor she once had the pleasure to meet. Ignoring that her mind was screaming to just leave it be and don't get involved in whatever it was, she reached the clearing. Only to find it empty except for the dead bird, which seemed to have a strangled neck and had been stomped all over. Looking around, she asked in unsure, quiet voice, "Hello? Is anybody here?" A rustle in the bushes to her left, that could be heard, was followed by a hushed, "Shit. Okay, Naruto, stay calm. If it's really a guy and he tries anything, just do what a Yamane-chan taught you, always kick between the legs." Gathering her courage, Naruto went toward the bushes. Only to find that, yet again, no one was there. She broke in cold sweat and gulped loudly. "Stay calm, Naruto. Think, you have better hearing than most people. Gigi told you so there's no way you misheard that someone was screaming bad words here. And there was someone in the bushes, but where is he? If it was a ninja then I would have seen a smoke or a blur. Unless, no, that cannot be. They don't exist, they shouldn't. I gotta be calm. I'm calm, totally calm. I'm not calm." Life heard a poof behind herself and turned around to see the perturbed Zyro. "Welcome back. Hey, what's that white goo on your head?" Almost got noticed by Kyuubi's Jinchuriki, but mission has been successfully accomplished, Freya-sama. Without saying anything more he vanished. Goddess of Life blinked in confusion. How unusual. What was that about? She heard her sibling ask. "Wow, Hiruzen, you sure got old," he whistled out loud. Earlier, when Hashirama left the annoying messenger behind, the deceased shinobi went to explore the village. Gates stood as proud as ever. He also recognized a lot of buildings and streets, but there were some that he didn't. It was like something tore through the village and it had to be rebuilt. Moreover, the village got larger. Seeing yet another familiar road, the one that led to the academy, he decided that's where he'll be heading next. When he arrived it was quiet, but faint instructors' voices could be heard from the classrooms. Wanting to look around more, the ghost went to the main doors of the building, but his hand went through the door handle. He blinked. Strange, I could touch the envelope that Zyro-san gave me, which is like any object here, yet why my hand gone past the door handle? But nevertheless, it's a neat ability. Maybe being a spirit here isn't so bad. Next he tried to just walk into the doors, which, of course, he went through. Still experimenting with his newfound powers, he went to a random room, which happened to be the room in which he saw a person he didn't expect to see. The ghost had to take a second look at the old man, to confirm that it really was his and Toburama's former student. Right now the former Hokage was walking down the road to the park, coming from the direction of Hokage Tower, which was as impressive as always, like it never got touched by time. Night has fallen already, so there weren't a lot of people in the streets. Most already had eaten their dinner and went to sleep. The spirit arrived at the park, sat down on a nearest bench. He still wondered how he didn't pass through the objects on which he tried to sit, and tilted his head up to look at the stars. It sure is a beautiful night. At the same time that late evening, Naruto had finished reading the book that she took from the library. As she put down the book she just finished beside the notebook, she glanced at its cover. The Guardian Angel, she read the cover aloud. The girl walked to the window in the kitchen, leaned on it and looked up at the clear night sky. Her sky-blue eyes, as if on a cloudless day, reflected the little sparks of light coming from the stars, loneliness and sadness accompanying her. Then after the pause, she softly spoke. Everyone has one, even if the person is very bad. So that means that I, a so-called demon, also have one. I wonder what mine is like. Achoo. Hashirama sneezed. Someone probably was thinking about him. Are ghosts even supposed to sneeze? He asked aloud, but didn't get an answer. No one could hear him anyway. Next morning the deceased Senju clan head could be found in the missions room. Today Hashirama's self-appointed mission was to haunt the current Hokage and possibly get some kind of useful information. He was watching Genins reporting the C-rank mission. When they finished, another team came in. It continued like that till the afternoon. So after the lunch break, he continued to haunt Sandame, who retreated to his office. When Sandame sat down at the desk, which was buried under huge stacks of paperwork, he let out a long, tired sigh. This never ends. Believe me, I know. Came an unheard reply. Hiruzen stared at the papers for another 5 minutes, mentally preparing himself, before he started reading and signing them, all the time being watched by the bored ghost who sat near the window to his right. After a few hours his work was interrupted by the arrival of an Anbu in a weasel mask. Take off your mask, Itachi-kun. The masked shinobi did as he was told, revealing a young boy, no older than 11, obviously an Uchiha, which surprised Hashirama. I assume that you learned something. Yes, Hokage-sama. As you know, my clan, the Uchihas, are planning a coup. The village leader gave a nod to Itachi to continue. We have approximately a year or two at best. At that Hiruzen let out a sigh, face grim. I see, we have some time to figure out how to stop this. Anything else? No, Hokage-sama, came an emotionless reply, to which the professor nodded again. Good job, Itachi-kun, you've done well. Dismissed. Yes, Hokage-sama. He put back his mask, bowed and left silently like he arrived. I'm getting too old for this. Hashirama just sat where he was, silent. Uchihas were planning a coup and he couldn't do anything at all. He stood up, sadness clear in his eyes. How did it come to this? He let out a breath. It was hopeless. He was just a ghost. He couldn't do anything, nor ask someone for help, since no one could see him. He stopped. If no one could see him, then what about his target that he was supposed to look after? Wait, his target. Hashirama came back to the forest, where he first woke up in this world, in hopes that by some miracle Zyro was still around or that he magically appeared. The man gave him the description of his target's appearance, and he hadn't seen anyone matching the said description. What was worse that he didn't ask for a name, but at least he figured that his target was female, hearing how the rude receptionist was referring to the child. He was pacing around the clearing when he faintly heard a child's giggling. Might as well go and check what children these days are up to. That being said, he went in that direction from where the giggles were coming from. When he came out of the forest he couldn't believe his luck. The girl he was trying to find was right in front of him, staring wide-eyed at him. He grinned at her. It seemed she could see him. Hey, you can see me? Ignoring that the child was still standing and unmoving, he waved at the girl. Hey, are you? And then she screamed bloody murder. Hashirama thought that Zyro had had the most impressive set of lungs. Guess he was too quick to judge. The girl was still screaming, but at least the volume lessened, though her shrieks were now accompanied by tears. Waving hands and rambling something he couldn't decipher, till she suddenly passed out. He stared at the girl who was out cold on the ground, dumbfounded. What will he do now? He just scared his possible target into fainting. I guess I'll just wait here for her to wake up. Naruto opened her eyes. It took her a few seconds to realize that she wasn't in her bedroom but outside, lying on the cold ground. How did I get here? Oh wait, I was near the forest when. Her blood ran cold. Slowly sitting up, her heart was beating against her ribcage as if trying to escape, even hearing it in her ears. Naruto took deep breaths trying to reassure herself. It was a dream, it was not real, I just somehow fell asleep here. There wasn't any ghost here, yeah that's it. What ghost? Asked a male voice behind her. Naruto turned stiffly to look behind her. When she saw who was talking to her, she snapped her head back and stared ahead, cold sweat running down the temple. Okay, Naruto, remember what Sarani Oni-san told you. It's just the fruit of your imagination. Turning again to look behind, Naruto found the man still sitting cross-legged, staring at her a little bit annoyed, but also curious. What? He asked. She quickly looked away. It's not real, it's not real, it's not real, God save me. It's not real. Stop, I'm not a coward. I'm brave. I must not cry, I cannot cry. Only the weak cry. But what can I do? But what if it's the real Shoden that the villagers summoned? He will kill me. He's the strongest ninja to ever live, only matched by Madara who could control Kyuubi itself. I don't want to die yet. I haven't traveled around the world yet. No, I won't die here. I refuse. It's a coward's way, but right now I must survive. Hashirama was staring at the girl. First she screams bloody murder, faints, wakes up and then is shooting glances at him, her eyes clearly expressing that she couldn't believe what she was seeing. He was surprised when she stood up abruptly and dashed into the dark forest, leaving only a cloud of dust behind. He stared bewildered at the direction that she ran off to. He was about to chase her when he noticed a book on the ground. Without thinking he picked up the book, which should have passed right through his hand. He blinked. Maybe I can touch things that were earlier touched by her? But more importantly, hey, wait up, you forgot your book. Naruto ran through the empty village as fast as her tiny legs could allow her. She arrived at her apartment door and was trying to put the key in the keyhole for the 5th time already, failing to do so due to her shaking hands. On her 6th try she succeeded. Entering and slamming the door of the small apartment, she locked it. Slowly making her way to the sink, still trembling, she filled the glass with water, spilling some in the process. She went to the table which had 2 chairs standing on each side, pulled one and sat down, setting the glass down as well. Naruto, who started calming down, stared at the glass, not actually looking at it as today's events passed in her mind. In the morning she got the history book from Sarani Oni-chan, read it, went to the forest with that book, was looking at the village, then met him. The girl resembling the fox kit looked through the window. Sure enough it was dark outside. How long I was lying there. She glanced to the opposite side of the room where the clock on the wall was. Its shorter arrow pointing at 2 and the longer one at 12, showing that it was 2 in the morning. The blonde let out a silent, tired breath, drank the water and headed to bed. It's late, I better go to bed. I probably am not thinking properly right now. I can think what to do about that staring creep tomorrow. Over the horizon the sun was peeking over the tops of the trees, rising into the sky, basking the world in light and warmness. People all over the elemental nations rose from their slumber, getting ready for the new day. Merchants setting up their stores, bakeries baking bread and pastries, housewives cooking breakfast for their families and children getting ready for school, while their fathers were out to work. As the sun was peeking through the curtains of certain girls' home, some of its rays were poking the child's eyelids. The girl opened her eyes and quickly closed them, clearly not satisfied being woken up. But since she was already awake, she got out of bed, bare feet touching the cold wooden floor. Naruto, still half asleep, made her way to the kitchen, opened the fridge, took out the opened pack of milk and drank it. While drinking she let her eyes lazily roam around the kitchen, only a second later to spit a mouthful of her drink. Hello, you forgot the book back there, so I came to give it back. The newcomer was a man that looked to be in his 20s. Black pants and high-collar shirt, red plate armor, white bandages wrapped around his ankles going up. He also wore a pair of black sandals. And he was sitting in her chair at the table. She was standing near the fridge, unmoving, not even breathing, holding the opened pack of milk, almost resembling a stone statue made by Gorgon, by how still she was, and at loss what to do. That creep from yesterday somehow found her, followed and broke into her flat. Remembering Hiruzen once telling her that charging headlong into something was always a big no-no, she tried to calm down as much as she could, before starting the interrogation to find a way to kick that bastard out. Finally remembering how to fill the lungs with air, she took several deep breaths in, like she was taught, and started unsure. Thank you. The man beamed at her, you're welcome. Getting a little boost of courage, Naruto bombarded the second occupant in the room with questions. Who the heck are you? Why do you look like Shodai? Why you are here? And, how did you break in? She was all but shouting at the man in front of her. The blackhead shoved his hands in front of him, showing that he didn't mean any harm. Whoa, I came in peace. In answer he only got a glare which looked more like a pout on the child's face. He sighed, it seems like it won't be easy to get his target's trust. Answering in order the questions he started, name's Hashirama Senju. I look like that because that's how I look and the way I was born. I am here to return your book, that you left near the forest, and look after you. I got in by passing through the walls. Liar. Shodai died long ago. I'm a spirit and no one but you can see me, and didn't I say earlier that I got here through the walls? Oh, and the book is outside the doors, for some reason I couldn't bring it past the door. He was answered by the silence and the unbelieving stare. That's impossible. I've never been able to see ghosts. And ghosts don't exist. How are you so sure? He asked, raising an eyebrow at the 6 years old. Because I said that they don't exist. That means they don't exist. Now leave. Looking at the female occupant in the room, he shook his head. He wouldn't deny that her words actually hurt a little where the beating heart was supposed to be. Sorry, but I cannot. I have to look after you. Came a reply full with determination in the tone of his voice. Naruto gaped at her uninvited guest in shock. What will she do now? I don't care. Just leave, you old pervert. Old pervert? He shouted aghast. Sarah Oni-chan, do you see, something unusual today? Was the first thing Naruto said when she got to the library. To say that she was freaked out was to put it mildly. True to his words, the man went past the walls and objects, the only exception being objects that she touched, but that didn't apply to the doors. What freaked her out more was that no one was able to see him, no one. The librarian looked at the younger girl quizzically, noting that said girl was rather pale. She was looking around frantically, muscles tense, as if she expected to be ambushed at any moment. No, why do you ask? There's someone following me. A whisper full of fear came from the girl. Hearing that, the young woman in glasses gasped. Naruto, are you sure? Yeah, he always goes where I go. He followed me home and was following me this whole morning too. But no one sees him. Of course I do, I have to. Came an answer from the ghost, who Naruto tried to dutifully ignore with all her might. Naruto, have you told anyone else? How long has he been following you? Did he touch you? What does he look like? The librarian was worried about her young friend's safety, who she was bombarding with questions right now. But to help her to the best of her abilities, she must know with what they're dealing with right now. No, you're the only one who knows. I met that pervert only yesterday evening. I don't know if he touched me. I was mostly asleep, but he had long hair and dressed in red armor. She would have finished if she hadn't been interrupted by the librarian, who seemed to start emitting fire. What? I'm not a pervert. I had a wife that I loved. Honest. Hashirama yelled at both females in the room. That proved to be futile, since the one who could see him denied his existence and the other one couldn't see nor hear him. I'll show that peeping creep. Naruto, let's go. We are going to pay Hokage-sama a visit. Declaring her intentions, she grabbed Naruto's tiny hand and rushed out the building, followed by the complaining former Hokage. Sarutobi pinched the bridge of his nose. He had an awful feeling that something would happen, but didn't expect this of all things. In his office and outside of it was a horde of women, all demanding that he should ban the infamous Toad Sage from public baths, hot springs and any spa that were in the village. Ladies, please, I think you got it. Hokage-sama, that pervert has been peeping on a little girl, interrupted an enraged woman. Moreover, that he's been spying in hot springs and public baths. Came a complaint. This cannot be tolerated, shouted another. Naruto, even though was being squished by an army of infuriated females in the room, was amazed, but also rather happy. An hour ago, when Sarani dragged her to Hokage's office, they bumped into a Yame who had finished a delivery order. The young librarian rattled the whole tale of a pervert, which was overheard by some passing women. Following that was the interrogation, more eavesdropping and some more questioning. In less than an hour, half of Konoha's female population stormed the HauntKage Tower. People in the village might not have liked Naruto, but women, the younger ones especially, somewhat tolerated her and stood up for the fellow female occasionally, like now. They wouldn't let someone get away at molesting a child, demon brat or not. It was a girl, and girls must be protected. To say that Hashirama was depressed was an underestimation. He has incurred the wrath of female population of his village, was accused of being a creep, a pervert, and to top it all, of a child molester. All because of some pervert named Jiraiya, who seemed to be notorious here, they thought him to be. Moreover, his target was ignoring his existence. As old HauntKage tried to pacify the angry mob of women, stating that Jiraiya wasn't even in the village, Hashirama sat there, outside the office, an aura surrounding the man in all its gloomy glory, and it didn't seem like it would go away anytime soon. Just like the women screaming demands and swearing vengeance against him, or more specifically the Toad Sage. Achu, kya, pervert, get out. Upon being noticed, the white-haired man ran away before the enraged women could get him and pummel him into the ground. It was enough for him getting beaten by Tsunade once. He didn't want to try that again. Achoo, he sneezed again. What the hell? Have I caught a cold? No, probably the ladies are thinking about me as they read my books. He giggled to himself perversely. His giggles were interrupted by another sneeze. Hey, Naruto, what are you up to today? Naruto, that's your name, right? Today was the second day of haunting. The ghost was trying to get attention from the only one who could see him, but to no avail. Hashirama had to admit that the girl was really stubborn and knew to never give up. Those were good traits to have for a ninja, but not in the situation like this. The blonde with whisker marks was determined to ignore the spirit that followed her everywhere in hopes that it would leave her alone. Naruto tried praying, both in shrine and at home, but she didn't know even one proper prayer to save her life. And the ghost was still following her. That left her with the only option, which was to ignore the ghost, since asking him to leave proved to be fruitless. Wow, where does it all go? Asked the odd Kami no Shinobi. The Jinchuriki was eating her 7th bowl of ramen already, and she won't be stopping anytime soon, judging from the pace she was eating at. Hashirama honestly pitied the poor man, who will ask Blonde's hand in marriage, his wallet too. A boy or a young man somewhere sneezed. On the 4th day's evening, Hashirama Senju could be found staring at the door of his target's bedroom, a frown marring his face. Earlier this day, like usual, Hashirama was tagging along with the girl, trying to get her attention or at least try to get to know her better. First out of the 2 goals failed since the girl was denying his presence. Second was kind of a success. As they were walking down the busy streets, he noticed how villagers behaved around the child. He was rather confused. As the girl passed by, she got nasty glares from civilians, even some from shinobi. Like that wasn't enough, older women gossiped about the demon child, and were silenced by others speaking something about taboo. Those who seemed to act more civilized were the ones of younger generation of the village. They didn't openly show their dislike for the girl, just simply ignored her, but younger girls seemed to like little Naruto. Of course she had friends and people that loved her, but only few, such as the ramen restaurant duo, Hiruzen and the librarian. Strange, I know that at least a few decades have passed since I passed away. The culture and society has probably changed since then. But why avoid the child like it's a plague? Moreover, call her a demon of all things? No child should be treated like that. As far as I've seen, she's just a normal girl. Sure, she's stubborn, afraid of ghosts, always reading books in her free time, more mature than most her age and grew faster than she should. But she's also kind, sweet, friendly and loving girl to those who are dear to her. When they got back, Naruto rushed to her bedroom and slammed the door shut right in his face. He didn't go and try to comfort her. It was clear she didn't want him anywhere near, especially right now. Senju let out a breath as he heard a sob or a muffled scream, coming from the other side of the door. Something happened in this village, and there's a high chance that she's the scapegoat by the looks of it. I must find out, the ghost whispered, now determined to find the answers and help the girl. The ghost was starting to get worried. It was the 7th day since he started looking after the girl. Naruto was very pale compared to their first meeting. Instead of being sun-kissed, she was as white as a sheet. He also noticed that her breathing changed and she started to sweat more. It was obvious that the girl was getting sick. Hashirama mentally cursed himself. He was supposed to be a guardian angel. Yet here he was following his target and terrifying her every day. He was only making it worse. Naruto got ill. There were no words to describe how grateful the legendary shinobi was to the waitress of the ramen stand and the supervisor of the library for taking care of Naruto. It took 3 more days till the young girl started to get better and didn't need constant attention. Ayame and Sarani would have taken care of Naruto, but they already used up their days off. Ayame had to help out her father. These days more costumers came in, and the librarian was busy with paperwork due to the nearing end of study year, and everyone needed to return their books. During those days, Hashirama tried to stay away from the girl's bedroom, only checking on her when she was asleep, afraid to worsen her condition by stressing her. The spirit of the first Hokage was yet again standing in front of the bedroom door. He reached out his hand, fingers curling into the fist. He lightly knocked on the door, or at least tried to, as his hand went through. But that attempted knock served its purpose to notify the girl that he was coming in, when he heard a sharp intake of air behind the door. He passed through the door, stopping to look over the sick girl. Hashirama smiled a little in relief that some color returned to her skin. Why? He was startled by the question. It was the first time in a week and a half that she spoke to him. Why? She repeated again, still quietly. Why me? What did I ever do to them? You. I didn't kill anyone, I didn't seduce anyone. I was alone, I have no parents. I was a good girl, I did nothing wrong. So why? At this point the girl who sat curled up in her blanket was screaming hysterically and crying for the first time in front of someone. Why do they hate me? Why do they ignore me? Why call me a demon? I don't get it. They even summoned you to haunt me. Why? Naruto was glaring straight in Hashirama's eyes accusingly. She didn't know if it was still because of the illness or strong emotions, but she was feeling like she was burning, yet freezing inside. Like a hole has opened somewhere in her chest, sucking everything in but the flames around it. The ghost stared at the girl, face and eyes showing no emotion. As the girl curled more into herself and the blanket, hiding her eyes from the view, he slowly stepped forward, quietly as not to alert his target, towards the bed and sat down beside her. Naruto went rigid when she felt the bed shift and went numb when the hand appeared on her covered head. It was a strange sensation, she thought absent-mindedly. The palm has big, kind of heavy, nor hot nor cold, yet calming and comforting at the same time. Look at me. It wasn't a request, it was an order. The 6-year-old was terrified, yet complied, turning to look at the spirit, bloodshot eyes wide as the saucers and full of fear. I saw how the villagers are towards you. I cannot say that I understand it fully. I'm confused why they do this. In my eyes you're just a child, like any other in this village. I don't know the pain of always being hated by fellow villagers, but I know how it feels to be ignored and to be alone. How painful it is to feel like you don't exist. Ignored. Alone. 2 silent questions were heard. Familiar, no? He chuckled humorlessly. Then he continued, when I died I wanted to be left in peace, to do what I liked, meet my loved ones once they joined me in the afterlife. But that didn't happen. During those years I spent there I haven't met anyone, it was lonely, you know. Then I got sent here by gods to help you. Sure, I should have arrived earlier, but I'm here now. He heard murmurs coming from the bundle on the bed, words muffled by the blanket. Wanting to hear more clearly he asked her to repeat it louder. I'm sorry. The Senju patriarch blinked at the white cocoon in question. I'm sorry. I ignored you and you were lonely. I know how it feels. When you're alone, you feel sad and empty here. She wriggled her small hand out of white fabric, and pointed with a tiny finger at the left side of the chest. It makes you want to cry. And when no one acknowledges you, you want to do anything, even if it's embarrassing, that people would see you, to give you some attention. I'm very sorry, I know how it feels, but I let you feel the same pain. I shouldn't have done that. But I won't do it again. The man gave a little heartfelt smile to the girl, stroking the girl's still covered head, trying to comfort her both with gesture and words. It's okay. I know you didn't mean to hurt, you were just afraid. It's okay to be afraid, that's what makes us humans, well, you at least. I'm sorry. I'm really, really, really sorry. I won't do it again. That's a promise. And I don't break promises. Girl was bawling her eyes out, apologizing, while Hashirama was still stroking the child's head. Shush, it's okay, it's okay. Just let it out. Naruto peeked underneath the blanket at the ghost. She was still afraid. Afraid that he meant harm only, and was pulling her leg, pretending to be friendly. But during those days that he was following her he hadn't done anything at all. He said that he had to look after her, and that it was his duty. He tried to talk to her, get her attention, get to know her better. When she was feeling bad during her worst stages of sickness, he gave her space, or like that time when they came back from a walk around the streets of the village. The Jinchuriki came to the conclusion, this ghost wasn't a bad one. He wasn't like those spirits in the stories. But that didn't mean she wasn't afraid of them in general. Still feeling a moving hand on her head and hearing those softly spoken words of comfort that Naruto saw parents do to their children when they were upset, she was so jealous back then. But now someone actually saw how she really felt and was comforting her. She felt that hole in her chest closing up, that coldness and burning hotness lessening. Instead she felt warm. It felt like that time when she met Hokage Gigi, or Iyame Oni-chan and Tuchi Oji, or Sarani Oni-chan. She couldn't take it anymore. Overwhelmed by the strong emotions wanting to burst out, she hugged the spirit. She noted yet again that he felt nor hot, nor cold, like something was there, but at the same time wasn't. It really was a strange sensation. Naruto felt the man's longer limbs wrapping around her, returning the hug. Eyes bursting with tears anew, she buried her face in the ghost's chest. She didn't care that she was somehow hugging a being that didn't belong among the living at the moment. Few hours passed like that while one was silently comforting and the other one venting its bottled-up emotions out. The older one of the two broke the hug and looked the younger one in the eyes. Beaming at Naruto, the ghost extended its arm for a handshake. Let's start over, shall we? I'm Hashirama Senju, your guardian angel. The girl looked at Hashirama in confusion. Registering what he said, she gave a small, real smile to the Shodai. Also extending her hand and taking much bigger hand of Hashirama's to shake, she said. Naruto Uzumaki, the one who will become the best kunoichi and travel around the world. The dyes spilled on the blue sheets of the sky, dyeing it red, later darkening it into dark blue and finally black. Sparks of light appeared, like little children filling out of kindergarten to their parents' arms. Night has fallen on the village, welcoming those few who were still awake into its embrace, but failing to invite one young girl. Naruto, it's late. A voice of a man from the doorway was heard. Pausing on the paragraph she was about to read, Naruto tilted her head up then to the right to look at her flatmate. A few more pages. I will finish this chapter and I will go to sleep, okay? She said, giving a sheepish smile to the ghost. In return she got a sigh. Fine, but don't stay up too late or start reading another chapter. Reading too much is bad for your eyes. We don't want you wearing glasses, do we? Nope. He shook his head, a small smile adorning his face. Good night then, see you in the morning. Good night, old man. I'm not old. I might have been around 40 when I died, but now I'm in my 20s. I'm young. Yeah, now shoo. She waved her hand at the grumbling man. When he left, Naruto continued to read the book. Finishing the chapter, she marked the page and put the book on a nightstand. After lying down on her back, wrapping herself in the warm blanket, her mind wandered. It's been already a month since that day, that she gave a chance to the spirit haunting her. Back then Naruto thought that it would be weird, she meant, really weird, to live with a ghost. It was a scary thought too. Who the hell does that? But now, after a month in the company of the Shodai, she would have a hard time imagining a day without him following her around. The young Uzumaki came to like the dark-haired man. It was fun to tease him about his hair, age and simply to talk to him. He would curl into a ball and fall into the sea of gloominess, start denying things or just keep a good conversation, depending on the situation at hand. Those moments were both amusing and annoying. He was always with her, keeping her company and looking after her like a big brother or a father would. Naruto wouldn't say it out loud, but she was rather happy. Always waking up to be greeted with a smile, a good morning, and going to sleep with a good night. It was still something like from another world to her, something alien. Jinchuriki moved her hand, put the tiny palm on her chest, where the small organ was beating and pumping blood inside. It feels warm here. Come to think of it, Gigi said that when you feel very happy, you feel warm inside. Same goes for love, doesn't matter if it's love for a lover or a family. I know I love Sarani, Ayame, they are my elder sisters, Shisui too. He's my older brother. I love Gigi, he's my grandpa, Tucci also, he's my uncle. They all are my family. I love them and they love me. That's why I'm happy. What about Shodai? Isn't he lonely? It must be hard, to not being able to see your loved ones for so long. If he'll stay with me, then maybe I'll come to see him as a second older brother? I probably will, I guess. She giggled at her silly thoughts and moved to lie on the side. I didn't have a family from the beginning. But right now I have one. We might not be blood related, but we're family. It kinda feels strange and funny to think about it, but I like the feeling. The feeling of having a family. Single quote. Naruto blinked. Her eyes hurt a little and were getting watery. She blinked again, trying to hold the tears back. She took a sharp breath in, then another, trying to calm down. It was useless, tears were flowing already. Naruto, you're asleep? She heard a whisper. Hashirama was standing in the open doorway again, probably checking if she went to sleep. The girl shook her head, not trusting her voice to say anything at the moment. Feeling the bed shift, she turned on her other side, facing the wall which held the door. From the corner of her eye she could see Hashirama sitting on the edge of the bed and looking at her, dark eyes laced with worry, yet warm as always. Want to talk about it? He asked her quietly. Naruto just stared at the space, but asked after few, silent minutes. I'm not sad, but why am I crying? Hashirama narrowed his eyes, making him look very serious. How are you feeling then? Happy, I think. The blonde turned her head to look at the older man. Then those are tears of happiness, silly. He replied her in a serious voice. Naruto blinked at him, then a giggle escaped from her. The ghost's face lost its serious demeanor, now he was adorning a soft smile. Hey, Shodai, are you a magician instead of shinobi by any chance? Because when I feel sad, but not this time, you come to comfort and talk to me, even if I don't want to. But then I start to talk and after that I feel better. He stared at her with an unreadable expression in his eyes, when suddenly he burst out laughing, finding it funny that the girl called him a magician. As the spirit was laughing merrily, Naruto gazed at it. Yes, it was an alien feeling to have somebody constantly with her, to share worries and happiness, exchanging small things. But she didn't mind at all. Her home felt more homely, bright and kind of lively. It was nice and warm not only in her home, but in her soul as well. With a smile she closed her eyes and let slumber take her to the dreamlands. Good morning. Naruto received her daily greeting from a widely smiling man. Her back straightening as she stiffened. The 6-year-old still had to get used to the idea that she didn't live alone anymore. Shoulders slumping, she relaxed. Giving a small, still sleepy, smile in return she greeted him. Good mornin'. As Naruto was walking around the kitchen, preparing breakfast, Senju watched her before asking. So what book were you reading? Adventure? Fantasy? Fairy tale? A time travel one? She answered, taking out eggs, milk and bacon from the fridge. That answer piqued the ghost's interest. Oh, how is it? Do you like it? Tell me. Naruto glanced at the transparent man shuffling on the chair like a child excited for a field trip. She sometimes wondered who was the bigger child, she or he. Shaking her head, she gave a short summary of the book. The boy ran into a place that can take you to the past. Since he got stuck there he decided to change the future for the better, like probably anyone else would. I see, did he succeed? I haven't read the whole book, ya know. Hashirama pouted, which the blonde in pajamas noted, surprisingly, didn't look so disturbing like on the faces of other men. A silence settled in the kitchen, only frying eggs and bacon could be heard. Deciding to break the silence, to start a new conversation, he questioned her again. After you'll return this book, what will you take next? I don't know yet, maybe instead of reading I'll start taijutsu training or just train to wield weapons. She said, putting the warm food on the plate. Why? He narrowed his eyes, lips turning downward into a frown. The shinobi had a feeling that he won't like what he'll hear. Well, I'll be starting Ninja Academy. It won't hurt to get a little ahead. Stupid. He won't buy it. Damn, I should just have said that I'll take another history book. No, that's a sorry excuse even for a stupid reason. Who am I kidding? He'll find out anyway. That's not your real reason. He stated. Naruto just stared at Senju with a deadpanned expression. Thought so. Letting out a long, suffering sigh, she thought how she'll explain herself and from where to start. My birthday is coming up, it's on October. And well, you see, I thought I should train a little, to be able to protect myself better. The young fox look-alike gazed at the wooden floor. I wonder what kind of wood they were made from. There's 3, 5, 8 wooden boards, and there's... Why would you need protection on your birthday? Yes, the villagers dislike and ignore you, or just give glares, but they don't attack you, so there's no reason for them to assault you on your special day. She glanced at the still-sitting HauntKage. Gone was the jolly man, in his place now was the Shodai HauntKage. Naruto gulped, her throat was dry. Heaviness was bubbling in her stomach. Kyuubi, explain in more detail, please. I was born on the same day the Kyuubi attacked the village, but it was defeated by Yondaime. Personally, I think that they see it in me. I have whisker marks, just like a fox, and I was born on the same day it appeared. Maybe I'm its kid? Just in human form, ya know? Realization hit him just like an archer making perfect a hit on its mark. Hashirama stared at Naruto, eyes wide. He whispered only one word. Jinchuriki, confusion seeping into her blue eyes, she repeated unsure. Jinchuriki. Doesn't that mean, power of human sacrifice? Flinching as HauntKage stood up immediately after hearing her question, she stood where she was, like her feet were glued to the wooden panels of the floor. Her gaze never leaving the transparent figure as it moved back and forth, mumbling something right under his nose. 1. Kyuubi attacked on same day Naruto was born. 2. Her mother was the second Jinchuriki of Kyuubi. 3. Female Jinchuriki are vulnerable during childbirth, so the Biju might escape. But, he turned his head to look straight at Naruto, confused. Why the inhabitants of the village treat you like this then? Jinchuriki are treated as heroes. Heck, Mito was treated like one after sealing the strongest one inside of herself after my battle with Madara. I need more information. What happened on that day when the village was invaded by that beast? What happened 7 years ago and during Naruto's birth? During these past 7 years? For the second time this morning he realized something. I'm an idiot, aren't I? Tobirama probably would laugh his ass off, if he could even remember how to laugh, that is, that I admitted being an idiot. Hashirama searched his pockets till he found what he was looking for. Care to explain? I also would like to know a few things. And what's in the envelope? Her confusion by now was replaced by annoyance. She disliked to be left in the dark. Your breakfast is getting cold. Don't change the subject. Eat it, while I'll try to see if I can get more information from this thing. After that, we can see what we have here, he said as he waved the paper folder. Grumbling, the girl went to take the tableware. During the whole meal Naruto was glaring at Hashirama as he was reading the files that were inside the envelope. Judging by his expressions it was something worrisome, him looking back and forth at her, and the papers didn't help either. She had finished her breakfast before the HauntKage read the papers, so Naruto took the dishes and went to the sink to wash them. She glanced over her shoulder to look at the man. It was strange seeing him in serious mood. It seemed HauntKage still had a few files to read, guessing that discussion might be a long one after he's finished. The girl with whiskers had put away the plates and the tableware, and went to make something to drink. So? She asked, already seated at the table, hot beverage already in the mug in front of her. Hashirama breathed out a tired sigh, eyes showing disappointment and something deeper, unreadable. How should I explain this? Naruto narrowed her eyes. This was not Hashirama she knew. Shodai usually was always smiling, happy, acting like everything was alright, yet, in front of her was an apprehensive, uneasy, unsure man, who looked like he didn't know how to break the news. Letting out another breath, the ghost started. You know the Kyuubi attack, right? There's much truth hidden behind it. Like, she urged him to continue, she needed to know it, she must know it. She needed to hear the truth. First, you must know what Jinchuriki is. To put it simply, they're humans that have a Biju, such as Kyuubi for example, sealed in them. Quote, wait, then, he held a hand in front of her to silence her. Let me finish first please, and it's bad manners for a young lady, such as yourself, to interrupt when someone hasn't finished speaking. The girl pouted, but kept quiet so he could continue. Imagine that you're a metal box that's used to take ramen delivery. Ramen that is inside that box is Kyuubi. So far there were 4 Jinchuriki to house Kyuubi. The first being my late wife Mito Uzumaki, the second was your mother Kushina Uzumaki, and of course the third being you, together with your father. Mother and father? Naruto asked in a shaky voice. She was trembling. All her emotions were in turmoil. The beast sealed in her guts forgotten at the moment. She will finally get to know something about her parents. Yes, your mother was one of the last of Uzumaki clan, from the Whirlpool country. Your father was Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage and also the man to seal Kyuubi both into you and himself before his death. The blonde girl sat there, in her chair, now all numb and wide-eyed, staring past the first Hokage, her mind trying to process the information. She had parents who died the day she was born. One of them being Yondaime himself, a hero who sealed Kyuubi, saving the village. It was mind-boggling how a hero's child is treated by the village, while every year on October 10th everyone is celebrating his victory over the mighty beast. The whole time that the room was silent, Hashirama looked at Naruto worriedly. He, himself, didn't expect this kind of information when he was reading. The silence was broken when the younger occupant in the room started speaking, her voice squeaky. Did they hate me? The opposite. They loved you very much. Both of them were expecting you, and were really happy when you came to this world. But sadly right after your birth, you were ripped away from them and almost killed by someone who posed as Madara. After your father saved you, the impostor extracted Kyuubi from your mother and let it loose on Konoha, but Yondaime managed to defeat that person. Since Kyuubi is an immortal being and will revive even if someone manages to destroy its body, it had to be sealed into someone who would live. Your father denied the idea from Kushina-san to reseal the fox into her, who was already on deathbed. The extraction of Biju usually kills Jinchuriki on the spot. She survived only thanks to her bloodline. So Kyuubi was sealed in you. If they really loved me, then why seal it into me? Why not someone else? She asked again. The Hokage patiently answered. Your father couldn't ask someone else to make such a sacrifice, if he himself couldn't make one. He thought you were the child of prophecy, that you'll save and protect not only Konoha, but the whole world. That's why he entrusted you with half Kyuubi's power. Wait, half? You said my father is also housing that fox, so he has another half? Why not seal the whole beast in me? You were just born. If Kyuubi was sealed whole, you might have died. Its chakra is toxic. Moreover, for someone who doesn't have developed chakra coils, to have nearly infinite amount of chakras sealed into them can be fatal. The silence settled in the kitchen once again. Few minutes passed until Naruto spoke, suspiciousness clear in her voice and eyes. Do you really think that everything written there is true? I mean those files? I doubt that beings under direct God's supervision would lie. Oh, that was the only answer the girl could give. She stood up and went toward her bedroom, stopping in the doorway when the ghost called her. Oh, and by the way, your father wished for the villagers to see you as a hero and they didn't. With that statement being said, she shut the door, leaving the unworldly being to sit in the kitchen, all alone and musing something silently. A dark-haired young boy sat at kitchen table, swinging his legs back and forth, watching his mother cook. Mother? He asked her. The woman with the same shade of dark hair stopped slicing the vegetables and turned around to look at her son, curiosity dancing in her pitch-black eyes. Yes, Sasuke? Father said that strong people don't need friends, since they hold you back. Itachi is strong, but he has friends. I don't understand why. As she giggled, Sasuke pouted, not liking to be laughed at, but didn't say anything to his mother. Stopping her small laugher, but still adorning a soft smile, she came closer to her son and put her hand on his head, making the boy look up due to the height difference. You see, Sasuke, when you have something or someone to protect you, push yourself more to become stronger. That can be anything. Your relatives, friends, beliefs, the village, or someone you see as a family. Quote, what do you mean, someone you see as a family? You're my family. Family is not only a group of people with who you share the same blood, Sasuke. Family is something more, it's a more spiritual thing. I don't get it, he shouted. With every sentence he was getting more and more confused. How should I explain this? You know, Sasuke, I once had a sister. She said as she sat down on the chair, now sitting in front of the boy. Really, why I never knew about it, will I meet her? He exclaimed, excitement and childish curiosity washing out his earlier confusion, but as soon as positive emotions came, they were gone once seeing his mother's eyes. They were full of sadness. No, you will never meet her, nor will I. She died during the attack of Kyuubi. We weren't sisters by blood, but I always loved her as a sister that I never had. To be honest, I saw her more as a family than my actual family by blood, who treated me more like a tool than a person." "Mother?" He was confused. He understood, but also didn't at the same time. Just what his mother was trying to say. "Sasuke, I want you to promise me something." The dark-haired boy's eyes widened, as he stared at the woman sitting in front of him. She never asked him to promise anything, hell, he only once saw her make a promise. He knew that to his mother, a promise was a sacred thing. She wouldn't ask for a promise just because. He gulped, still gazing at his mother's serious face. "Will you promise me? I want you to keep it as long as you're alive, no matter what happens to me. Are you willing to do it?" She asked him, her face grim, yet her voice betraying a slight desperation and pleading. "Why yes, mother. Then promise me that you will protect and won't hurt people who are dear to you, who you see as a family, those who you love no matter what. No matter how few they are, with your life and soul." His emotions still in turmoil, he could only nod. "I promise, mother." Naruto sat on her unmade bed, hugging her legs that were drawn to her chest, a thoughtful expression on her face. It was hard for her to comprehend what she learned today. Her mother was from a noble clan that once ruled Whirlpool, her father, Yondaime, the reason why she was treated with dislike and hatred her whole young life. Only because that bastard of a father, even though he loved her, put the village first. And what was the result? The villagers didn't trust him enough and that his seal will work properly. They pretty much spat on his grave. She snorted. So much good those sacrifices did. Nowadays most people didn't know about sealing art aside from storage seals and paper bombs, talk about Biju sealing. No wonder that she was seen as Kyuubi itself. Yondaime really was a naive idiot. The distraught girl murmured under her nose. Her eyes moved to the right side of her bed, where a pillow full of feathers was. Reaching out, she grabbed and hugged it while stretching out her legs. "An idiot, that was my father," she huffed. Suddenly burning rage overtook her with a strong urge just to destroy something. Shooting up on her feet, still on the bed, the girl kicked the pillow she held not a moment before. "That bastard. He died just after sealing another half of that fur ass inside of himself. He won't ever have a chance to live through what I had. That asshole. How dare he claim that he loves me before dying? Oh, course he dares. He probably had parents and family. He wouldn't know what it feels not having one." Naruto whispered the last part weakly. Angry tears were falling down her cheeks. But mother wanted to seal that thing into herself again. She was one of the last from her clan too. Maybe she actually knew how I would feel. Of course she knew, she was its jailer, just like I am. Otherwise she wouldn't have even suggested that idea of hers. Suddenly all that burning anger disappeared, only to be replaced with confusion and many other emotions that were whirling in her stomach. She glanced at the white pillow, lying innocently on the wooden floor. Naruto jumped from the bed and walked toward the pillow. Picking up the object made of white, soft material, full of feathers that poked out in some places. Looking at it with intense gaze, she stated determined, finally sorting out some of her emotions and coming to a decision. "I'll love both of them, but I won't forgive that bastard guy until he begs for forgives. After I'll give him a piece of my mind in the afterlife." The young girl with two low pigtails stood in the silent room, in proud stance. Now that she sorted her thoughts and emotions towards her parents, another problem popped out, that she had forgotten about in favor of her parents, the Kyuubi. Still speaking with herself loudly, Naruto asked confused. "If that fur ass is my prisoner, then how is he doing? Wouldn't it be boring and lonely there, being locked up all this time inside of me?" The silence once again settled in the room as its occupant stared in one direction. It was broken when the girl blurted out one of her thoughts. "Maybe Shodai is working some kind magic of his again? I wasn't so forgiving, trying to see good or pitying everything or everybody before." Quote, "Ni-sama." Itachi stopped midway taking off his sandals. Looking up he saw his little brother standing in the hallway. Sending a small smile towards the young boy, he greeted him. "Hey, Sasuke, how was your day?" The older boy was surprised and confused when instead of an energetic reply that the day was good, he got a small confused glare. "How do you get a family that is not related to you?" Now Itachi stared at his brother in bewilderment, eyes comically wide, clearly not expecting such a question from the 6 years old. If Sasuke wouldn't have been serious at the moment, he would have laughed at the rare expression on his brother's face. Finally finding his voice, he asked Sasuke, "Why do you ask?" "Mom made me promise that I must protect those who are precious. I guess both blood-related and not blood-related families are them. But I don't get it, how can you see someone as family if you're not linked by blood?" Mom said she had a sister like that. Itachi closed his eyes, already calming down and grasping an understanding of the situation at hand. Like any shinobi veteran would. She must have meant Kushina-sama. They were very close friends since academy days and eventually they came to see each other as sisters. Finally taking off the sandals, he stood up, standing right in front of Sasuke. When you make real friends, who are very close to you, you come to love them as siblings. As the time goes, you'll feel a relation to them. The bond between such people is really strong and unbreakable. You'll understand it more when you'll be older. Instead of searching such people right now, just wait, they'll eventually come into your life. Settle with smaller goals, like being a military police officer like you wanted to be. I want to be a chief, not an officer. Just like Dad. Sasuke pouted at his brother. He hadn't fully understood the whole meaning of having someone as close as another sibling, but at least he knew more about what his mom was talking about. His train of thought was interrupted when Itachi chuckled. "Your job is still to protect everyone in Konoha, little brother. I know that, so train with me, then I'll know how to protect them. Boys, dinner is ready." They heard their mother's voice. Itachi, glad for a slight distraction, moved to poke Sasuke's forehead. "Sorry, Sasuke, I'll train with you next time. How about I'll take you to the park tomorrow?" "Naruto, what are you doing?" Hashirama asked as Naruto threw another object from the closet, which flew straight at him and missed as he sidestepped. "Searching for kunai I once found at the training grounds," came a muffled voice from the closet. The man lost his happy demeanor, now standing still in the room, frowning. "You don't plan to go fighting or train to go to the battlefield sooner, I hope." If that was the case, he would do anything in his powers, that he currently had, to stop the girl. No way will he let her go to her death. He doesn't want to see any more corpses of children, nor them fighting to survive. When he started building this village together with Madara, he swore that children will have a chance to grow up, become adults, to experience many things, to see the world that wasn't tainted with blood and wars, instead of dying in battles so young. "I need to train. I'm old enough to enter Ninja Academy, so I'm old enough to start training. Moreover, my birthday is coming up, did you forget? Villagers get violent that day. Don't worry, I won't try to kill any of them. Most of those idiots don't even deserve that. I just want to be able to protect myself a bit, ya know." That didn't reassure Hashirama at all. Kunai are dangerous weapons no matter by who they are wielded, by trained shinobi or drunken civilian. Even though he was disappointed in the villagers for not even trying to get to know more about Naruto or Kyuubi's sealing circumstances, he didn't want them or Naruto hurt. But the girl had a point. She needed to protect herself, moreover that news about her status will sooner or later get out of the village's borders and she'll be a walking target. "It seems I have no choice, this was probably one of the reasons why I must have been sent here," he said aloud. "What did ya say, old man?" Naruto asked, poking her head out of the closet. "Look for those kunai, I'll teach you how to use them." "And I'm not old, are you serious?" the blonde screamed, not believing what she just heard. Yes, I am." He let out a defeated sigh. "No way, that's fucking fantastic, Datbeo," she exclaimed happily. With renewed vigor she dove into the closet to look for a box full of weapons. "Language, young lady, where did you even learn that curse word?" Hashirama would never admit that he screamed like a banshee that day, when Naruto would bring it up in the future. Naruto walked down the road, with lips pulled down into a frown, Hashirama tagging along, not looking bothered in the slightest. She wasn't able to find those kunai, and there were none at the training grounds. She would have gone to the training ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death. Its looks and sounds coming from it didn't scare her at all. Humans were more frightening than any kind of monstrosity that might be there. Alas, Hashirama awoke in his mother hen side and talked her out of it. That left her with the only choice, to buy them. Hence her dissatisfaction and bad mood. They cost money. Her musings were cut short when she heard a laugher. It was childish, but not that happy and innocent childish laugher. It was more sinister, mocking even. She stopped in the middle of the road and turned her head to the source of the sound. It was the same park that she came a few times when she still foolishly believed that she could befriend someone her age. Shaking her head to get those negative thoughts out of her head, she focused on what was happening on the playground. There was a group of 3 children, who looked a few years older than her. They were surrounding 2 children around her age. The one who sat on the ground, all beaten up and dirty, looked to be a tomboyish, pink-haired girl with short straight hair that reached her shoulders and a big forehead. The second one, who looked to be protecting the pinky, was a dark-haired boy with a duck butt hairstyle and dark eyes. She didn't even need to look at his shirt to know that he was an Uchiha. She has seen them often, patrolling around the village. It was hard to not recognize them. The boy was outnumbered, and will be hurt badly by bullies if someone won't interfere. She glanced at Hashirama, who glared at the bullies, clearly not liking what he was seeing. Naruto let out a sigh, getting the transparent being's attention. I'll go help that Uchiha. That way it'll be like repaying a debt to that kind Uchiha lady, who once protected me. Her name was Makoto, I believe. She said quietly, so only Hashirama could hear. And one more thing, Naruto started. The former Kage got a bad feeling. He didn't like that scary demonic grin appearing on her face. Suddenly he was feeling really sorry for anybody who would be Naruto's target. It seemed the girl was plotting something. I just created a taijutsu move. She widened her stance, leaned forward a little and drew her arms behind her. Naruto, I don't think that it's headbutt no jutsu. Today, just like Itachi promised, he took Sasuke to the park. They were about to go to the swings, but Shisui popped out of nowhere, asking to speak with Itachi alone. By the looks of it, it seemed serious. After excusing himself and saying that he'll come back shortly, Sasuke was left alone in the park. He looked around, not recognizing anyone. He just went towards the swings. The swings moved back and forth, taking him higher into the air. He let a small, childish smile grace his features. While he went up, he looked around the playground, until he saw what made him stop and his mood sour again. There was a circle made of 3 boys, all around 9 or 10. In the middle was a girl, who just got punched in the stomach by one of the boys. He also heard such insults as, big forehead, girlish, and others that were getting more and more disturbing. Hopping down from the swing, Sasuke once again looked around, this time searching for any adults. He remembered his mother telling him that if he sees bullying, he must immediately find an adult and tell him about it. But there were none around. Sasuke was starting to get frustrated. To hell with it, he will go and help that girl. This might as well be his first step towards his dream of becoming the chef of Uchiha military police force. With a goal in mind, he ran towards the group as a boy was about to kick the pink-haired girl. As he rushed into the circle and stood in front of the bullying victim, taking a kick to his left leg, mentally cheering in success that at least he prevented one kick from reaching the beaten-up girl. Oh, who do we have here? A Prince Charming coming to rescue his ugly princess. One of the bullies said, which got a laugher from the other 2. Sasuke grit his teeth. Stupid. He didn't even think when he rushed in, only now realizing that he might, for the first time, get a good beating. Headbutt no jutsu. That is until one boy from the group flew forwards, landing on his face with a loud crunch. He probably had a broken nose now. As all were staring at the culprit, who was the blonde girl, Sasuke took his chance to kick the downed enemy hard. He had no sympathy for bad people. It seemed that this tormentor won't be standing up some time. He returned to his previous place, now standing beside the grinning, odd-looking girl. 1 down, 2 more to go. Naruto said, "You will pay for that, you runts." Before both boys could move to attack their smaller targets, the blonde girl shot forwards and kicked a boy to the left between the legs, shouting, "Balls kick no jutsu." 2 down. She cheered with a grin on her face. It turned into a maniacal one as she rose her leg and stomped in the same place where she kicked the boy just a moment ago again. The last of the bullies, Sasuke and the pink-haired girl, stared at the grinning Jinchuriki in pure fear and shock. "Monster," the older boy whimpered. He paled when Naruto turned to him, still looking like a devil himself. "Monster, you say? That she protected an innocent person from such disgraces as you?" came a voice behind the bully. As all turned to look who was speaking, the boy paled even more, seeing 2 older Uchihas, both of them wearing Konoha headbands. All the bullies let out a scream and ran as if a horde of devils themselves were chasing after them, crawling and running as fast as they could manage. "Shisui ni," Naruto exclaimed happily while Sasuke done the same, but calling both older boys. Not waiting to get a greeting from her older brother figure, she went to the pink-haired girl and held her hand out for the girl to take. The girl took her hand. When she stood up, she bowed deeply not only to Naruto, but to the three Uchihas as well. "Thank you very much for saving me." Shisui came closer to the pink-haired girl, put his hand on her head, moving it to pet the girl. "You should thank Naruto-chan and Itachi's little brother, they were the ones to defend you," he stated with a grin on his face, pointing respectively to both 6 years old, Itachi agreeing with him. As she was about to bow again and thank the two, she was interrupted by Naruto. "Hey, what's your name?" "I'm Naruto Uzumaki." "Saw Sakura Haruno, nice to meet you, Uzumaki-san." Out of the corner of her eye, Naruto could see Itachi urging his little brother to introduce himself as well. Sasuke introduced himself, followed by Itachi and Shisui. Finally finding the right moment, Itachi asked what was bothering him for a few minutes already. "Shisui, you know this girl?" His gaze was on Naruto. With a smile that still didn't leave his face, Shisui turned to his best friend and Sasuke, who also looked curious, to explain. "I and Naruto are ramen-eating buddies. She's kinda like a lil sister to me, you could say." Itachi nodded, satisfied with the answer he got, while Sasuke saw the blonde in new light. "You know, Sakura-chan, you have such a pretty name, it really suits such a pretty girl like you." Naruto complimented happily, but her excitement was replaced with confusion when Sakura looked down sadly. Didn't she like being complimented? "Haruno-san, is something wrong?" This time it was Itachi who spoke. "I'm not a girl. I'm a boy," as everyone's eyes became wide as saucers. Silence fell down on the now empty playground, aside from the group of 2 children and 2 Anbu, who were staring at now revealed pink-haired boy. After a few minutes passed, Itachi tried to break the ice. "Uzumaki-san, Sasuke, how about we go somewhere to eat, to celebrate your brave actions today? Haruno-san, you as well are invited to join us." Naruto grabbed the pink-haired boy's hand in vice grip while shouting that they should go to Ichiraku ramen, Shisui also shouting in agreement. Since Sasuke never tried ramen in restaurants, he also said that he wanted to go there, so they moved towards the small restaurant. As they were walking, Naruto was in the lead together with Sasuke and Sakura. Leading the way, she chatted with the two, while the eldest 2 of the group were walking closely behind them. "Hey, Itachi," Shisui whispered to his younger friend. "Yes?" The boy with stress lines near his eyes returned, equally quiet. "You're treating everyone, aren't you?" He got an affirmative nod from the preteen. "Prepare yourself, your wallet and any savings you have on yourself." "Why?" the prodigy asked, confused, which was rare. "You'll see," came a crippling answer from the Shunshin expert. Itachi stared wide-eyed at the tower of bows that was still rising. Shisui was laughing his ass off with Sasuke and Sakura also snickering at his face, yet not hearing laughter of another being. Never in his short life, he dared to even think that he'll want to cry. The young genius wasn't a religious person, but that didn't prevent him from praying to any god or deity he knew or heard of, asking for the whiskered girl to just stop eating. "God, just what did I get myself into?"